Hello everyone! So, it has been quite a long time since I filmed a video and I thought I should just film another one today. So, today's video is all about my favourite books of 2016. I absolutely love reading. I try and read a book every 1 to 2 months, I'd say, but I also read a lot of comic books as well because Simon's job is in comics publishing, so we always have a lot of comics to read and they tend to be a little bit shorter than normal books. So on average, I'd say 1 book a month. And I've read some really good books this year that I want to share with you guys. And equally, I just want to say, if you've read anything really amazing that you've enjoyed, please let me know. I would absolutely love to hear your suggestions, so comment below with anything that you've really loved reading this year. Right, I've got my list ready to go, so let's get started. So I think it was probably one of the first books I read in 2016 was Miss Pettigrew Lives for a Day by Winifred Watson. I have been meaning to read this book for the longest time. I got given this beautiful edition by my friend Rebecca for, I believe, one of my birthdays, maybe a few years ago, and it's been sitting on my bookshelf. And I absolutely loved this book, basically. It is honestly the perfect book you could read in like this time of year, like January, February. It's such a heartwarming, lovely story. Basically, the plot revolves around Miss Pettigrew and this wonderful woman she meets completely by chance, and she kind of invites Miss Pettigrew into her very glamorous life, and she has witnessed all these wonderful parties and occasions and champagne and dressing up, and she has this beautiful day and she doesn't want it to end, and it's just all about forming friendships and enjoying your life and enjoying a little bit of frivolity from now and then. So it's just a really heartwarming book, and as I was reading it I was just terrified it was all going to come crashing down and come to an end, because it's one of those stories that you just want to have a happy ending and you want it to kind of live on, and I would highly recommend it if you're feeling a little bit down in the dumps. So one of my favourite authors is called Ali Smith. I've only actually read 2 of her books, but her writing really speaks to me. She has a similar tone to Justine Garde, and he is again a very beautiful writer. His writing style is really beautiful. He's a Norwegian writer. He tends to write about philosophy and theology, and weaves various theories into really stunning stories that are almost like bedtime stories for adults, but they have some very important, deep ideas woven within them. And Ali Smith has quite a similar style, I'd say, to Justine Garde. I definitely recommend reading his books, by the way. How to Be Both was the first Ali Smith book I read, and if you would like to read some of her work, I would suggest starting there as well. I feel like it was a very easy book to get into. I think at the time when I started reading it, it was her most recent book as well. Since then I've read Autumn, and I got given 2 more Ali Smith books for Christmas, a collection of her short stories and Girl Meets Boy, I believe it's called as well. I got given that. But basically, How to Be Both is a story of duality and essentially time travel as well, which sounds sci-fi, and if you're not into that sort of thing, I promise you, it is such a subtle idea of time travel. It's not at all like Star Trek-y or Star Wars-y or any sort of mainstream sci-fi you can think of. It is incredibly beautiful and philosophical, and it deals with issues like death and friendship and knowing yourself more deeply and loving yourself as well, and turning negative memories into positive parts of your life. So there's a very beautiful and important message that goes along with this story as well. I really don't want to give the story away at all. I think it's best just to go in reading it. The book is split into 2 parts from 2 different character perspectives, one set in modern day, one set in the Renaissance, and both of them equally beautiful. But I would just go in not knowing too much about it, just know that it was a really enjoyable book, and it opened the doors for me to Ali Smith, and she's become one of my favourite authors, so hopefully that's reason enough to give that one a go. So a comic book / graphic novel, whatever you prefer, that I've been reading is called Sunny by Taiyo Matsumoto. And it is, again, a beautiful book. I have a theme. I like beautiful, lovely books, clearly. I believe there are 6 of them. I think I've read all the ones we have in the house, and then Simon brought me the last one, the most recent one, from work, and I believe that was the final one. Let me just go check, actually, because I want to just double check my numbers. I believe there's 6. 1 minute. Yeah, there are 6. We have 6 anyway. And they look like this. They have really beautiful covers. I'm just going to show you some of his illustration style in the book is really gorgeous. I mean, just look. Oh, the covers are so gorgeous. Obviously, they're Japanese, so you read them back to front for us. But yeah, I just absolutely love the kind of style he has. Is quite loose and inky, which I really like. And the end pages and some of the beginning of the chapters feature his kind of watercolour paintings as well. Basically, it is a series of books that all feature some children who are currently living in a foster home. And it's about their lives together and the adults that help look after them, and also the adults who kind of screw them over, like their parents. And I believe that each chapter focuses in on a child and their individual story. So kind of you get to know the children quite well, and then also you can come back to that child. So their stories get kind of pushed along little by little. It's a very kind of gentle pace. And I definitely fell in love with a few of the kids in this book, and you just kind of, I want to look after them and make sure they're okay. And I think for a book to have that sort of effect on you means it's a good book, basically. Again, it's a very gentle plot. It's about real life, and it's about the foster care system in Japan, really. But it was a great opportunity to kind of really get invested in a quite a large group of characters like these kids. So I really, really enjoyed Sunny. Oh, so I think this might possibly be my favourite book of 2016, and this is The Buried Giant by Kazuo Ishiguro. This book is a fantastic blend of genres. So it's a kind of very typical classical fairy tale in many ways. Parts of it really remind me of the King Arthur stories. It's based in medieval Britain, and there are hosts of characters that kind of hint to that kind of the fantasy aspect of medieval Britain. Basically, there are dragons and knights and all that stuff, but it's definitely not a fairy tale as well. It is so linked to real life, and it is a book about adult relationships and marriage and what it means to grow old with someone, and how your feelings can completely change and develop throughout a long relationship. So basically, the book is about a couple, an elderly couple called Axel and Beatrice, and it's about their relationship. But the plot can be a little bit upsetting and a little bit creepy, and definitely is fantasy based. But basically, they lose their memories, or they can't seem to remember certain things. And one night they talk about their son, and they realise that they have a son that they have forgotten about. So the book is basically about their journey trying to find their son. God, living on the high street is just all round the clock sirens. Ooh, try to talk about books. So yeah, it's about them trying to find their son and the kind of adventure that unfolds before them and the sort of people that they meet. So I have read a few of his other books, and I didn't really enjoy them, actually. Especially remember Never Let Me Go. I was quite excited about reading that, and it just didn't really suit me. So Simon basically read The Buried Giant and said I should read it, and I was like, oh, I don't really like this writer. I don't know if I want to read this, and he kind of gently pushed it onto me. He really loved this book as well, so just because it's about marriage and relationship and all that stuff doesn't mean that everyone can enjoy this book is what I'm trying to say. Don't be sexist, y'all. So yeah, I loved it, and I feel like this and How to Both by Ali Smith are my like 2 books that I've read this year that I love so much, and I think that the majority of people would also enjoy both those books, so they're much less of a niche style as well. The ending is, me and Simon had like an hour conversation about the end of this book, trying to figure it out, because we wanted to see like the best out of this ending, and he's a kind of huge pessimist, he says realist, and I am idealistic, away with the fairies, want everything to be lovely all the time, so it was very interesting to see our interpretations of the end of the novel as well. So read The Buried Giant, please, it's amazing. Okay, a book I read in the summer is called The Vorrh by Brian Catling, and I randomly picked it up. I think it was in a Blake's bookshop, which I never go into, but I was in there, and I just really wanted to buy a book. I always get these urges to buy literature, and I saw it had a really plain monochromatic cover, and it stood out to me, and I just looked at it. I believe like Terry Jones had reviewed it or something, and it had some other very talented people saying this book's amazing, you should buy it, so that convinced me, and I was quite surprised. It was a really interesting read, actually. It wasn't one of my favourite books, but I want to talk about it because it was just really weird and interesting, and kind of expanded kind of my thoughts on what sort of books I like. I was like, oh, this is a whole sort of different sort of book, which I don't think I would have ever read before. So again, it has its kind of roots in fantasy, but it's also set, I believe, possibly like interwar period. I could be completely wrong there. I feel like it might be anywhere between the kind of mid-30s to mid-40s. So it is very much set in fantasy, but it's also very much set in reality, and that can be quite confusing because initially you're like, this is a complete medieval fantasy book, it's set in a forest, there's a man with a bow and arrow, it's suddenly very like medieval, and then the next page there are like tanks and rifles and guns, and it's real and it's like war. That is to say, 2 of those things that are very different are again not the theme of the book. It is just one of those books where it is every genre at once, and I kind of love that. There are robots in it. There is a lot of sex in it, so it is not one for younger readers, adults only. There's a high fantasy element, there is a kind of high philosophical element, there is some horror, not massively scary, but it's still something to consider. Again, I don't really want to tell you about the plot because it's such a cool, weird book that I kind of want you to discover it on your own. But basically, the Vorrh, the title of the book, is a huge forest, and it's a weird place and weird things happen there, and there are lots of people who go through very strange experiences from being near or in the Vorrh, and there's voodoo magic and stuff, and weird like slave hive mind groups of people, and yeah, it talks about a lot of issues, and it is very interesting. The final book I want to talk about is flipping amazing, and I read it in about a few days. I have given it to my brother, he read it in a day, he then gave it to one of his friends who also read it very quickly, and then that friend passed on to another friend who still has it, and I really want it back now because I want to read it. It's called Nod, and it's by Adrian Barnes, and it is his first novel, and sadly maybe his last as well, as he is suffering from cancer at the moment. I haven't looked to see how well he's doing, and it's very sad to find a very talented, creative, and possibly only have one chance to enjoy their work. It's his first published work. He may have other work that hasn't been published yet that they may publish. I'm not really sure. This is slight science fiction horror. It is set current day in Canada, and people wake up. It's a normal day, except most of the people haven't actually slept. So it's kind of a mass insomnia outbreak, and people think it's to do with microwaves and their mobile phones, or it's just a weird coincidence that it keeps happening. So there's a handful of people who are sleeping, but most of the people don't and cannot get to sleep. And it's about the kind of breakdown of society, and it's really creepy and so fun and great and very, very entertaining. The way that Adrian Barnes writes is very accessible. He doesn't use frilly language. It is very easy to follow, and it's just a really great book to read if you're into kind of modern science fiction or horror as well, because it is scary and it can be a little bit gory. So I just feel like it's a great book to get into if you you just want to start reading more, basically, but you're kind of scared of books. You can dive right into this one. It is so easy to follow the storyline. So those are my favourite books of 2016, but I also have to give an honourable mention to Tove Jansson, who, I don't know if I'm saying her name right, maybe it's like Tove Jansson. She wrote The Moomins. Comment below if you can spell her name phonetically for me, because she's my favourite author and I can't even bloody pronounce her name. Yeah, she wrote all the Moomins books, which I completely adore, and whenever I'm feeling sad I read them to just give some more balance and kind of healthy optimism into my life. She also read my second favourite book in the world, which is The Summer Book, which is one of her books for adults. It is a beautiful novel, and you must read it. You must read it. I tell everyone I meet to read this book. It's just absolutely beautiful. It's about the relationship between a grandmother and her granddaughter while they stay on an island in the summer, and it's these little kind of vignettes of their life and their relationship. Another book I have to mention, which is my all-time favourite book of all time and all existence, is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, and I think it could not be bested. I love the film. Hitchcock made it into one of his hugely successful movies. If you like Hitchcock movies, please watch it. It's very good. And I have a few new Daphne du Maurier books that I need to read. I had no idea that she wrote Don't Look Now, which seems like a ridiculous thing as a kind of book, like person who loves reading. I was going to say book expert, and I'm definitely not one of those. Book lover. I didn't know that she'd read that, so I'm really excited to read that. So aside from the ones I've listed here, just for your kind of general reading pleasure, please do check out Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier and The Summer Book by Tove Jansson as well. I hope you have enjoyed this, and like I say, please do leave any recommendations that you have down below as well. I would love to read more books. I hope you have a fantastic day, whatever you're doing, and I will see you soon.